They called it a victory, but the snow-covered banks of the Washita ran red. In 1868, George Armstrong Custer led the 7th Cavalry in a surprise attack against a sleeping Cheyenne village. What followed was less a battle, and more a massacre. On the freezing morning of November 27, 1868, the sun had not yet risen over the Washita River in what is now western Oklahoma. Snow blanketed the ground. The air was still, and in a quiet valley along the riverbank, a village of southern Cheyenne lay sleeping, led by a chief known as Black Kettle. Black Kettle was no war chief. In fact, he had spent years trying to make peace with the U.S. government. He had survived the Sand Creek Massacre just 4 years earlier, where over 150 Cheyenne and Arapaho, mostly women and children, were killed by Colorado militiamen, despite flying a white flag of truce. After that, Black Kettle had done everything in his power to avoid another bloodbath. But it didn't matter. The U.S. Army, under General Philip Sheridan, had grown tired of what they called Indian hostilities. Raids along the frontier were increasing. Cattle stolen. Settlers attacked. Whether or not Black Kettle's people were responsible didn't matter. The government wanted results, and they sent a young, ambitious officer to deliver them, George Armstrong Custer. Custer had been court-martialed the year before for abandoning his post, but Sheridan brought him back into the field for one purpose: to strike fear. Armed with orders to attack any native village found away from designated reservations, Custer led 800 men toward the Washita. When they arrived at the sleeping Cheyenne camp, Custer didn't wait. At dawn, he ordered a full charge. Gunfire ripped through the still morning. Teepees collapsed under cannon fire. Men were shot as they emerged from their shelters. Women and children fled into the snowy woods, pursued by cavalry. Some were shot down. Others froze trying to hide. Black Kettle and his wife tried to cross the river and escape. Both were shot in the back. It was chaos, confusion, slaughter. By the time it was over, Custer claimed a major victory: 103 Cheyenne dead, 53 women and children taken prisoner, and the village completely destroyed. The army suffered minimal losses, but not everyone called it a victory. Reports from the field described children among the dead, elderly men, unarmed women. Some were executed while trying to surrender. Others were captured and used as human shields during Custer's withdrawal, when nearby Cheyenne and Kiowa warriors counterattacked. Even some of Custer's own men were uneasy. What they witnessed was not a battle between armed forces, it was a one-sided onslaught. Custer, however, spun the story differently. In his official report, he described a decisive blow against hostile forces. Newspapers across the country praised the action. The army promoted the success. But on the plains, among the Cheyenne and other tribes, the name Washita became another word for betrayal. The survivors of the Washita attack, especially the young, would not forget. Among them was a boy named Wooden Leg, who would go on to become a prominent Cheyenne warrior. Others fled north, joining up with Red Cloud, Sitting Bull, and Crazy Horse. The seeds of Little Bighorn were planted that morning in the snow. Custer's star rose after Washita, but so did the hatred toward him. And just 8 years later, many of the tribes devastated by Washita would meet Custer again at the Little Bighorn. That time, the surprise attack would go the other way. The Battle of Washita River remains controversial to this day. Some call it a necessary military strike. Others call it murder. The truth lies somewhere in the stillness of that icy valley, where a man who once raised the white flag of peace was met not with words, but with bullets. Thank you for listening to Deserted Trails. If this story moved you, consider joining us again as we uncover more forgotten truths from the American frontier.